bankers declare U.S. and Europe conquered. And it's actually them saying it on video. Okay, I mean, this is now they've conquered the central government, not us yet. Homeland Security, Agenda 21, that is the implementation through Homeland Security, the rewrite, the overwrite of our once free republic. So we've been warning you all these years. It's getting closer and closer. Now we're in it. I've never heard Joe Farah talk like that. Joseph Farah earlier saying, you know, they're going to probably come kill us if Obama gets reelected and that Romney's horrible, but, you know, he probably won't kill us. I mean, that's what people in the know are saying. I mean, look, the military has declassified re-education camps and gun confiscation. That video is posted on our YouTube channel. It's gone totally viral with all the proof of that. This is real, okay? It happened everywhere else, so understand. It's kind of like you never believe you're going to get injured or have that car wreck, and you look, somebody runs a red light, they T-bone you, you're in the hospital. You know, this stuff really happens. Most countries throughout history have fallen to tyranny. Most countries have fallen to tyranny. It happens. Now, the question is, how bad will the tyranny be? The globalists are eugenicists. They believe in getting rid of population. So it's not just like they're ruthless and don't mind killing people. Killing people is the aim. The famous statement of, hey, you got to break a few eggs and make an omelet in the Ukraine when they're killing 10 million, and the journalist says, I don't see an omelet. Well, it's because it's about breaking eggs. So Bob Dacy, again, a national writer who researches gun issues, is here, and he's going to break down now the real documents, what the treaty really does, and what the UN framers of this interpret it as, because they write it vague for the general public, but then you've got the heads of these agencies saying exactly what this means. So here's the proof of what the UN's planning with your guns, and don't believe that it's beaten. It's a good chance it's going to pass the Senate, just like NDAA they said wouldn't pass. It did, or Obamacare wouldn't pass. They do that to kill opposition. Bob Dacy in studio, break it down for us.
Alex, thank you for having me back on. I haven't been here in a few years, and things have changed around here. And I'm very impressed with what Obama has built here for you. I am so impressed. I really am. It's bigger. It's more modern. It's got more neat stuff in it.
Obama built it.
I know he did, and I you know, when he told me I didn't build my business too, I was shocked. 34 years ago, I started doing things. I actually made my own first sign from a hardware store out of plywood and red paint. You
make screens, doors. You actually make things.
We manufacture window screens, you know. But I always thought that I was doing that. The screening table you just brought up, by the way, I could have swore I built it from scratch. I could have swore I did that, but apparently...
No, I just moved that microphone closer to you, but I didn't. Obama did that.
Well, apparently I had a lot of help because... No,
Obama just when I reached over and moved that over, that was the government.
Well, which is
Kim Jong-il, because government's God. He gave me power to do it.
It's a great segue into Obama, because before I talk about all this gun control stuff, I want to thank President Obama, Barack the Quack Obama. I would like to thank him for being the best gun salesman to come down the pike since Bill Clinton. Thank you very much. I have a small gun department in my store. Barack is the driver of gun sales in the United States of America today. And so we want to thank him for that little increase in business there, because I don't think anybody could have done it as well as he has done it.
Good. You better learn to thank him.
Yeah, well, because, you know.
And like North Korea, don't fold a newspaper that's got his image on it, or that's death, and your whole family goes to a re-education camp.
Well, look, I'm glad you asked me on, because, you know, I think you asked me on probably because you remembered that document I gave you back in 2001 from UNIDIR. That's the United Nations Institute for Disarmament Research. What I want to say here is that anyone that's new to this debate as to whether or not the UN is serious about sticking anti-Second Amendment stuff in that treaty, all you got to do is get a historical perspective of what's going on. And it's very easy to do. All you got to do is go to the UN website like I did back 14 years ago and just look around. You will find more anti-freedom, more anti-Second Amendment, more anti-United States, more anti-Constitution, more anti-Bill of Rights stuff there than you could possibly shake a stick at. I just lucked into finding one time, and I gave it to you, and that document was called Removing Military Weapons from Civilian Hands. And it was written by Christoph Karl and Patricia Lewis in August of 2000, UNIDIR, United Nations Institute for Disarmament Research. And they define the problem And they talk about the problem is weapons, small arms. And they say that they're killing and maiming everybody throughout the world all by themselves. Apparently they just do things all by themselves.
And this was at a big UN treaty where they were trying to ratify it before in July of 2001.
And the key sentence in this thing, which is the one that screams, which is the one that you've been using for over a decade, is this sentence. Such weapons distort societies, make it increasingly difficult for a society to rebuild itself following a period of bloody conflict. But this is what it says right here. Such weapons make it harder for the state to regain the legitimate monopoly of force. Now, if any of you people are Americans and have grown up in this country and were taught things like subversive literature like the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, things like that, that statement is it right there. The United Nations, their whole mantra, everything they're about is 180 degrees opposite to what we here in the United States hold dear.
And they took the guns from one tribe in Rwanda and sat back and helped kill the other tribe because they were the landowners. I mean, the UN's murdering people themselves all over the world.
The Second Amendment, of course, we always say it's the teeth of the Constitution. It's the teeth of the Bill of Rights. If you don't have that, the rest of it is just, toilet paper if you can't defend yourself. But the deal is, if the United Nations believes that government monopoly of force is a good thing, that is exact 180 degrees opposite of what we believe. That, what did Thomas Jefferson say? When the people have the power, the government fears the people. That's good. You have liberty.
Mm-hmm.
And when the government's got everything and the people fear the government, you have tyranny. Where in the world would any American glom onto the idea or agree with the idea that government monopoly of force is a good thing?
Well, where would Americans think that you didn't build your business, the government did? I mean, this is how out of control these people are.
Well, later on in this document, they talk about they take a swipe at the NRA. Now, the NRA, of course, in my world, is kind of weak and wimpy relative to, say, Gun Owners of America. But okay, the NRA has been doing a pretty good job on this, except for the fact that they're an NGO at the UN. But they talk about all these things they want to do to pick up all these guns. This is about picking up not just military guns, but anything that's semi-automatic. Got that? They define semi-automatic as a military weapon.
And that's why even Forbes says it's register and ban semi-autos. That's what the treaty does.
But they're talking about all these different ways of doing this, which is to take up civilian weapons worldwide. And they talk about brokering, ammunition control. They specifically mention 7.62 and 5.56 millimeter, which are some of the most popular military rounds. But then they talk about the civil society campaign. And what they say is right here.
Well, stay there. We're going to keep getting into the actual documents, and you found a new document as well.
Yes, I got.
And we have a copy of the United Nations Program for General Complete Disarmament in a Peaceful World. U.S. government policy is try to ban our guns. War. Yeah, the United Nations masquerades as masters of peace, but they're really masters of war. Look at what they do all over the world. It's a consortium for the globalists, for the megabanks, who have established their world government and are now trying to mop up what sovereignty is left. Key article by Paul Watson, Bankers Declare U.S. and Europe Conquered. It's red-linked in the featured news section. ATF boss threatens whistleblowers. That's a new article breaking. InfoWarriors wage war on Obama. Key video compilation. Woman pulls gun to prevent smart meter installation. That's at Infowars.com and Prisonplanet.com. Security privacy experts testify to Congress on spy drones. Virginia lawmakers look to strictly regulate spy drones. That's good news. Judge rules man who stripped nude to protest TSA not guilty. TSA signs off on flight school owned by illegal alien with illegal aliens taking courses. But your 5-year-old has to be abused by them. And again, bankers declare U.S. and Europe conquered. Okay, Bob, this is a short segment, long segment coming up. Again, you're reading from Exhibit 1, July 2001, at the UN as they're debating, formulating the treaty. Please continue.
Okay, so what we're talking about is how they want to disarm you. They want to take your guns away from you. The historical context is what I'm talking about. The historical context. It's not like something new. They do it all the time. That's their thing. Now,
they've done it in countless countries. They take all the guns and then they line you up and kill you.
That's what totalitarian control freaks do. I mean, don't be brain dead. All right. This is they talk about the advantages of being able to take all the military-style weapons away from civilians worldwide. If a concerted campaign were to be formed to remove such weapons from civilian hands, this would have a number of distinct advantages. And one of the advantages is it would be hard for the anti-control lobby to argue against such an initiative. After all, who could easily justify the right for civilians to bear arms built for military purposes, and thus argue taking automatic and semi-automatic weapons off the streets of cities and out of schools? All right there. Who could argue the right of civilians to bear arms? Let me think. The Founding Fathers?
Yeah, they're saying it's you have a right to not be in danger from them. Just like Chicago and New York, where only the criminals have guns and you're in hell. So,
and again, the point, military purposes, well, that's what the Second Amendment is all about, isn't it?
Remember the ATF last year was going to ban bottom-loading shotguns, which is over 60% of them, and said because they're non-sporting, shotguns ain't for sporting.
No, they have nothing to do with sporting. I remember Susanna Hupp was testifying before a congressional committee many years ago, and Chucky Schumer, my favorite New York senator who was a congressman back then, had smoke coming out of his ears when she was talking, and she said, "I got news for you. The Second Amendment is not about duck hunting. It's about people like us being able to protect ourselves from people like you." And old Chucky, oh man, you could see the smoke coming out of it.
It's fundamental. The tyrants want to disarm people.
Yeah, and the UN is tyrants. And I want to talk about the big picture. You can't take the Second Amendment and...
You just read, we're at the big meeting. They're saying nobody should be able to have guns. Who could argue that? Who could imagine? Like, who could imagine you built your business?
Yeah.
I mean, it's that crazy. Who could imagine you don't love North Korea?
But what I want to talk about, Alex, is legitimacy. Where, for example, I have a problem with the NRA in that they are an NGO, non-governmental organization at the UN, because they are participating in UN stuff. And I know that they're getting dirt from the UN and putting it out and showing people. But, my grandfather used to say, I will tone down what he said, but he said, if you play with stuff, you get some on you. And that's true. But I don't understand exactly why they do what they do, being an NGO at the UN. I have a little problem with that. But the historical perspective that I'm talking about is where does the UN get this legitimacy? Why
No, that's like George Soros and the White House fund these watchdogs who lie and say they're not George Soros funded and get caught, and then they sit there posing and saying what's real and what isn't. I mean, and we go, oh, you say that the sky is red, it must be because you said so.
What gives the UN its legitimacy? What is the UN? Okay, the UN was founded back in 1945
by the Rockefellers.
And the guy running the whole thing was Alger Hiss.
Communist.
A communist, an Eastern Establishment member of the Council on Foreign Relations. I think there was 30 or 40 Council on Foreign Relations members involved in that initial conference in San Francisco. Alger Hiss personally flew the treaty to the president to sign it. And then, of course, he was later arrested for working for Joseph Stalin and given the Order of the Red